Mississippi.
Welcome to Super Talk Outdoors from the Foundation Studio right here on Biloxi's Back Bay. This is the place where we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi because, as I say every week, Mississippi is the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful Super Talk Mississippi Radio Network or on Super Talk TV at C-Spire TV. Or you might be watching on YouTube or Facebook or your favorite podcast. It's July the 3rd, 2023. I hope you're having a great 4th of July holiday. Some people had to work today, unfortunately, but a lot of people have off tomorrow. Had a great weekend just this past weekend. So I hope you're staying safe and enjoying this wonderful reminder of America. What a great opportunity to be sort of patriotic in the moment. A great time to get together with family and friends and barbecue and enjoy the outdoors and all the things that people do. I especially want to thank the foundation, the title sponsor of Super Talk Outdoors. The foundation is focused on important issues about protecting Mississippi's outdoor heritage. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. In the second half of the show, we're going to talk about the incredible raffle that's now underway at the foundation to help us with our outdoor enjoyment. Hey, by the way, I remind you every week that the views on this show are mine, not those of the foundation. When it comes to the outdoors, you can count on me to say what needs to be said when it comes to conservation and outdoor enjoyment in Mississippi, and I'm really honored to be in this position. Hey, speaking of saying what needs to be said, last week I got a lot of feedback from the show. I talked about what is now the third chronic wasting disease management plan change done by the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Commission without any discussion. There was no public input. They didn't ask the department biologists their opinion. Commissioner Gary Rhodes offered a resolution that substantially changed the geography of how the department responds to a positive CWD test, and it was passed without any discussion, as I mentioned. So I've had a long list of people who have contacted me that have concerns about this. And so in upcoming shows, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking with some of the experts about CWD and why so many are concerned about it, and that it could be, and many say it is, the biggest threat to deer hunting in America. And also, just based on the feedback I'm getting from the average hunter, the hunting community is also concerned about it. So we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about it and educating folks, and we'll hopefully get back on track with taking CWD extraordinarily seriously. Okay, with that said, we'll shift gears and move over to Major Glenn Jackson. We're going to talk about shooting ranges and a wide variety of things, but it's a pleasure to have Glenn Jackson joining me now on Super Talk Outdoors. How you doing, Glenn?
I'm well. How are you today?
I'm doing really good, man. So where are you located right now?
Well, right now I'm here at the Turcotte, which is the Central Region office, and also the Turcotte shooting facility. Okay.
Yeah. What a beautiful facility that is. I mean, what Mississippi has done with its shooting ranges is cutting edge, isn't it?
Yes, sir. And it's sad and it's, for me, for Turcotte it is as great a facility as it is compared to the other two facilities, North Mississippi and South, McIver and McHenry. Is kind of like the less spectacular of the three.
Yeah, and it's still amazing. And we'll come back and talk a little bit about that as well. But you've been with the department for 25 years. That's a hell of a career. What did you do when you started?
Well, when I first started out, I started in the Marine Enforcement Division, which was down on the coast, and which is now the DMR. A lot of people may not know that the original law enforcement for the DMR was through the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And then once the DMR got the law enforcement, I transferred back up inland, and I came back to the Delta, where I'm from, in Sharkey County. Worked all the management areas and the counties up there, and I've been back here in this area ever since.
Hey, so how long were you on the coast?
I was on the coast for right at 3.5 years.
So see, if my math is right, you got out of here just before Katrina.
Just before Katrina, but I did come back to work Katrina.
So because you knew the area, and
yes.
It was quite a mess we had to dig ourselves out of, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. It was hard to believe that it was unrecognizable. You lived right in. I lived right there off courthouse, and when I got down there, you couldn't recognize anything. The Treasure Bay Casino was sitting on the other side of Naney. Yeah, it was.
So yeah, Courthouse Road in Gulfport.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was raised in that area, actually. I was raised at the corner of Quincy Avenue and 54th Street, which is
Yeah.
not far from Courthouse. And my mother lives not far from there as well. And I have a sister that lives not far from there. So you hit home when you mentioned Courthouse Road in Gulfport. Yeah, it was. I live on the water, and I remember in the days and weeks after Katrina, the water still seemed dead. That was the way I would describe it. And what I learned, frankly, is that the waterways of coastal Mississippi are incredibly resilient. Over time, nature has a way of working it all out. But it just took some time, and it was quite an undertaking. Thanks for your involvement in coastal Mississippi after Katrina. I really appreciate it. Where did you learn your love of the outdoors?
I guess it's been a lifelong passion. Growing up in the Mississippi Delta, being exposed to hunting from my elderly. My dad didn't hunt, but the gentleman next door, elderly guy, he hunted, he trapped. So he kind of took me under his wing, and from it's all I've known from about 10 years old. Was the outdoors, and that was my main reason for wanting to be a conservation officer. Working in it, being able to give back and protect and make sure we have these resources for the year to come.
That's so awesome. Because I say on the show often that people get it from their fathers or their grandfathers, and if they don't, they get it from somebody close to the family. Some have to wait till they're an adult and have a friend who gets into it, and then they get introduced to it. And once they get introduced to it, they're hooked. But where in the Mississippi Delta were you raised?
Rolling Fork.
Wow.
Rolling
wow.
Fork. We just came.
How did your family fare? How did your family fare for the tornadoes?
It was pretty rough. We lost about 10 family members, lost homes, but we were fortunate. We only no fatalities. We just had material loss. And that's something that can be replaced in time, but it's still tough there, though. It's really tough.
God bless you, man. That's something I didn't expect to get that answer. 10 family members lost homes, and after Katrina, for me, 9 of 11 homes were completely destroyed. The others had damage, but man, that makes you get a quick reminder of what in life is most important, don't you, buddy?
Yes, sir. And then, and like you said, out of all those homes, there were actually individuals in each home. And like you said, we had no major injuries and no fatalities. So we were very blessed.
Yeah, I wrote a lot about it after Katrina, that what we got was a lesson in life. that when you strip everything else away, you get a very, very vivid reminder of what really matters. At the end of the day, you take all the divided world and all the material possessions and all that stuff and just wipe it out, and you get a reminder of how important your neighbor is and how important your family is. And gosh, man, and what I've said often as it relates to the lower Delta and the storms that came through there, that it's a great opportunity for us to see what is really in the hearts and souls of Mississippians, the way we reach out to help neighbors. Man, you really got to see that in Rolling Fork, didn't you?
Yeah, and that's we still talk about it. It's still amazing how the overwhelming people, just came in, didn't know anyone, just wanted to help, provide whatever service they could, and it was really touching to know that many people had us in their hearts and concerns.
Yeah, I wrote about it, Glenn, because one of the things that touches me, oftentimes there's a narrative on the national stage about Mississippi, and I wish that people who believe that narrative, certainly we earned some of that in our history, but the reality of where are we today in our heart and souls, it's when you go to a disaster like the tornadoes that came through the Delta, and you see the aftermath and how people are working together black and white, and doesn't matter what political persuasion you are, even religion. People come together, and that's when you really find out what's inside of Mississippians. And it's a great story about us, and it's a lot about what makes us so darn resilient, our ability to bounce back. But it's special, isn't it, my friend?
Yes, sir. Very.
Hey, listen, when we come back on the other side, we're going to continue our conversation with Glenn Jackson, and we're going to talk about shooting ranges and particularly the work that he does day in and day out these days. We'll see you after this break.
Whistling that sweet soul for him. I said 3 Mississippi to this land called home. I'll breathe Mississippi till I'm dead and gone. Just carry on. I'll carry on. Mississippi.
It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Hey, look, coming up in the next segment, I'm going to be joined by Heather Peterson, who is the manager of the Paul B. Johnson State Park. And boy, a lot of great memories my family has there. And we're going to talk about the fireworks display that's coming. We're going to talk about Paul B. Johnson in general, but we're going to talk about the fireworks display that's coming up there. And it's sponsored by the Forest County Board of Supervisors. They're such a good partner in that effort. And the event's just $10, and it's by the carload, incidentally. So it's cash only. So don't bring a credit card, but you'll enjoy that conversation as Heather and I talk about what 4th of July looks like at Paul B. Johnson State Park. That's coming up in the next segment. Right now, we're visiting with Major Glenn Jackson. And as I mentioned to him during the break, I didn't expect him to say that he was from Rolling Fork. But his family lost 10 homes. And, he said they're just now moving into sort of the rebuilding phase. But no one was hurt in spite of the fact that many of his family members were actually in their homes during the tornado. Which is the blessings that people have. Thank God that your family is safe. So what's it like to actually manage a really first-class shooting facility?
Well, and it's right now it's kind of overwhelming to me because I've just recently been appointed to this position, and I'm still learning the ropes and going off the rich history that the ranges already have, and looking forward to guiding and taking it into the next step for the next phases for the future. But my main thing, it's just important to me. I don't think a lot of people realize the resources and opportunities we have here with these shooting ranges at a minimal cost, with all that, with opportunity there to shoot and get exposed to outdoors.
You see, Glenn, what's interesting is that you're right. I don't think the average person knows about the shooting facilities. You're at Turcotte now, and what they have in their mind, if it's been a long time since they've been to a shooting range, what they may remember about the way it used to be is there would be targets and just a big pile of dirt, and then you'd have some shooting positions. And not a lot more, but today it's a whole new ball game. And listen, I end every single Super Talk Outdoor show, talking about how we need to work to keep people safe. I think what happens is that the way it typically works is we pass safety down from one generation to the next. We don't, as a general rule, we don't get as engaged. What you're seeing at places like Turcotte is way more people coming to those facilities than there used to be as people discover them. But what a great place to learn about safety. One of the things I mentioned on my show last week is that somebody went out, and there were 2 incidences that I heard about. One is where somebody went out and had a great day of hunting, and they forgot to unload their rifle when they put it in the back of their truck. They went to get something out of their truck. The gun shifted and blew a hole in the side of their truck. Thank God no one was standing there. But again, even the safest people drop their guard. Even the safest people forget some of the basics. The other was a guy shot a buck and went to track it. and had his gun loaded, had it on safety. And when he found the deer, he was so excited he forgot to unload his gun. And so when he walked back to his ATV, and as he began to take the gun off of his shoulder, it goes off because he's just basically just touched the trigger. Again, no one was there, no one was injured. But you hear these situations where people unfortunately are injured, or in some cases even killed, because someone dropped their guard for just a second. And one of the things you guys bring are not only first-class facilities, but a reminder of how important it is to always put safety first. Isn't that true, buddy?
It is, and that's why we have range officers, and each range officer is NRA certified as a safety officer, and that's what we want to stress: safety first, and then fun and engagement second.
Yeah. Okay. So look, if someone were to come to Turcotte, what would they expect to see? It kind of gives to them a sense of what you guys have done there.
But here at Turcotte, we have starting off with archery ranges. We have 2 archery ranges with known and unknown distances as far as 3D targets. There, one is actual, like a walking trail, when you was tracking through the woods, and you would come up on a 3D target, and you have to gauge the distance and make the shot. Then we have a 300-yard rifle range with a cover shooting. And then we also have a 5 clay stand. We have trap and skeet. The tower houses. I mean, it's a little something for everyone. We rent golf carts here. We also have ammo that you could purchase from the facility. So all you have to do is just come and be ready to enjoy.
So you can purchase ammo.
Yes.
And some of the harder to get calibers, you might have those as well.
Well, as far as ammo, let me go back. It's just shotgun shells.
Shotgun. Okay, there you go.
Shells,
okay,
12 and 20 gauge shotgun shells.
So, and on any given day, though, I mean, again, as I mentioned, people are discovering these facilities because they're so amazing. And as you pointed out, what's it cost to participate?
We have right now. We only have it's $15 a day, and for that $15, you can shoot anything we had to offer here. Only thing is, if you shoot clays, the clays are 30 cents each for each clay.
Hey, so listen, if someone were to go to the other facilities in Mississippi, they would expect to see this, about the same offerings, right?
About the same offerings, except for, like I said, in my opinion, the other 2 ranges are a little more immaculate, and also the other 2 ranges that Turcotte doesn't have, they have trap. They have trap houses, stands on McIver and McHenry. Right now, Turcotte doesn't have a trap facility.
So when you guys think about it, something we talk about on this show a lot is that the number of people who were introduced to the outdoors during the pandemic was pretty significant. You look at license purchases, both for fishing and hunting, and just overall enjoyment, people who participate in state parks. You guys had the same kind of sense there as well, right? People, a larger number of people are enjoying those facilities than before the pandemic.
Most definitely. And then going into the MSSP, the Scholastic Shooting Program, you have to look at. We did our pilot program in 2015, where we only had 4 participating schools, and then this year we had a total of 74 teams. We had right over 1,400 shooters. We had 32 schools, private schools, 32 public schools, and we had I think it was 12 clubs. So the number is just grown tremendously as far as people being exposed to it, and then they have to come to one of our facilities and shoot. So it's just like exposing more people, and when the kids comes, the parent comes, and now it's a family event.
And what I love about it is that number one, you're teaching those kids how to respect a firearm, how to stay safe. they're learning some really important lessons in life as they participate in that. Kids that would have never been engaged in the opportunity to compete in that way, or who maybe never been introduced to the outdoors, they're being brought to this and when they would have never had the opportunity to be involved. And so you see that all the time, don't you?
Oh yes, and our kids here in Mississippi are really excelling because they're after the state competition, the top 10 teams get to go to a national, and this year was in South Carolina, and Mississippi was #1 overall. So we're exposing them, kids that wouldn't have had the opportunity, and not only that, they are really excelling at it.
Isn't that amazing? I love that. I would say if there was a subtext to this show and something we need to spend more time talking about is the incredible benefit of involving kids in the outdoors, right? Because again, once you get them hooked, they stay hooked for the rest of their lives. They'll find different ways to explore the outdoors, just like I have, just like you have. But once you get hooked, you're always hooked. And I often say, Glenn, that a family that hunts or fishes together or shoots together stays together. That's true, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is. Yeah.
So, hey, do you have kids yourself?
I do. It's sad to my son. I have a adult son who, sad to say, I couldn't get him hooked on outdoors. But I'm redeeming myself with my daughter because she loves it apparently as much as I do. I can't.
Oh man, I've got grandkids now, so I was lucky. All three of my kids either love hunting or fishing, and now their kids love hunting and fishing, and it's such a gift to be able to give back. And it's such a gift to have access to something like Turcotte. And Glenn, you're a treasure too. I look forward to visiting with you again in the future, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed it, and I hope to be back.
You bet. You will be back. This has been the Major Glenn Jackson coming to us from the Turcotte shooting range. And it's been wonderful to visit with him. God bless your family, incidentally, and Rolling Forks and their quick recovery. And have a good day. And we'll see you after this break with Heather from Paul B. Johnson State Park. We'll see you after this.
Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. For the Facebook and YouTube audience, I just looked at the picture, and that picture was actually from the back door of one of the farms we used to lease. We this past year we moved from that camp to a different one. Now we have 3 farms we lease in the Mississippi Delta, but I think I have to change that picture. It's great to reminisce about that land, but boy, do we have some amazing land now. Wow. I'm so thrilled by that. Hey, listen, if you haven't looked into the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Foundation raffle that's underway as we speak, you ought to get your tickets. They're only $20 each and 3 for $50. You can get 10 for $100 or 25 for $150, and have a chance to get a $50,000 Ford vehicle voucher and a Legends hunt, turkey hunt with Cuz Strickland and Preston Pittman, an Argentina dove hunt for 8, 10-day guided African safari, an ultimate outdoors package filled with all kinds of amazing items. But it's going to go to a good cause because the foundation does so many incredible things for the state in terms of our outdoor enjoyment. So look up just do a search for Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Foundation raffle. You'll see that you have until the end of July to get your ticket. So now let's shift gears, and I've been really looking forward to visiting with our next guest, Heather Peterson. Heather is the manager of Paul B. Johnson State Park, and as I've said on prior shows when we talk about the state parks, that gosh, do I have so many great family memories at Paul B. Johnson State Park. But without any further ado, let me welcome Heather to Super Talk Outdoors. How you doing, Heather?
Good. How y'all
doing? Good to see you.
You too.
So, how many people do you come in contact with who say, man, my grandparents came here, my parents came here, I'm here now, and now I'm bringing my kids and my grandkids here? It's a generational thing, isn't it?
It is. We just had a group in here a couple weeks ago that they've been coming here for 35 years, and they get cabins every year, and they just keep coming back.
Yeah, my dad had a holiday rambler, and we'd set up there and just enjoy, roasting, weenies by the fire and marshmallows, and and getting to know other families that were there, and fishing for brim with cane poles. I mean, it's just that's the way you do it when you go to Paul B. Johnson State Park, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And most of our campers are locals, live within 30 minutes of the park, and they still come here every weekend.
Isn't that great? I went to Southern Miss, and even after when I was at Southern Miss, we would drive down and enjoy the day at the park. And as I mentioned to you, over the years, certainly there are upgrades that happen, but it still feels so familiar. The way it was 50 years ago. And you have people who say that to you, don't you?
Yes, I do. Like I said, we had a lady come in and said the office smelled the same, and she hadn't been here in 20 years.
Again, as I mentioned before we started the show, something about smell that conjures up so many memories, and I'm sure it was true of her as well. How long have you been at the park?
I've been with the agency for 6 years. I started out at Buccaneer State Park. I was there for 2 years, and then I transferred up here, and this is going to be my home.
Yeah, I had a great visit recently about Buccaneer State Park and how resilient that park is. I mean, we think about what Katrina did and then where they are today. Man, that's a heck of a story, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It was completely destroyed, and they rebuilt it, and it's better than ever.
It is. It's better than ever. And a lot of focus from all over, frankly, all over the world. Because if you think of if there was literally a ground zero, coastal Mississippi is a ground zero for the worst natural disaster in American history. But if you have to sort of get within that and say, okay, what's the ground zero within that? It was Buccaneer State Park. There's no question about that, is it?
No question at all. And they just did a bunch of remodels. They've upgraded their sites up front. It's pretty amazing.
Well, you're at Paul B. Johnson State Park, and as we learned during the pandemic, people were reintroduced to the outdoors. The parks got more popular. Thank God the legislature has been, for the last couple of years, really focused on how can we upgrade the state parks, and get the cabins back up to a place where we're all proud of them and that's competitive with what people are leasing around the United States these days. But you probably have never seen more people coming through there than you do now.
Once COVID came, it was pretty much a non-stop, and people bought campers, and everyone has found out that it's enjoyable to do with their families, and they've just kept coming.
Yeah, I saw that RV sales during the pandemic were up over 1,000%. And people felt they wanted to control their space. They felt safe in the outdoors, but they wanted to control their space. And, while some of that will start to wane, the reality is that so many people have been introduced to the outdoors, introduced to parks like Paul B. Johnson State Park. They have a new love now, and they're gonna come back year after year after year. Hey, for someone who hasn't been to Paul B. Johnson State Park, when you take that turn off 49, and that short drive before you get to, the welcome station, tell people what they would see if they came here, if they've never been there before.
Well, we are getting at our front entrance, we're getting a new gatehouse. It's going to be a log cabin. It's going to be an amazing sight to pull into the park and see that. And you're going to immediately see the lake. You're going to drive all the way around the lake to the office. So you get the nice view all the way around until you get to your campsite. And then you have a beautiful view of the lake there. It is.
It's a great lake. Tell me about the lake.
It's 275 acres. We do allow skiing, boating, fishing. We do have some fishing tournaments out here on Thursday evenings. You can ride a jet ski. You can pull a tuber on a jet ski. So there's plenty to do on the lake.
How do you, I'm sure there are a lot of rules, but as it relates to the lake and keeping people safe, what do they need to know if they were going to come boating for the day?
Number one, there is no alcohol allowed on the lake to keep everyone safe. We have a map down there by the boat launch that tells you which direction is one direction around the lake. That way we don't have people crisscrossing. There's no wave runners are not allowed to jump the wakes on the boats or do 360s and do crazy things out there. We do make sure that everyone has a safe time out on the lake.
And it can get pretty crowded at times, can it?
Yes, it can.
So what do you expect over the 4th of July weekend?
A whole lot of people. By the time the fireworks get here, there's no parking spots available because we have so many people out here for it.
Yeah, we'll actually talk about the fireworks in the second segment of the show, but let's take when things are kind of slowed down a little bit and people are just there taking a deep breath of that wonderful park. If they decide to go fishing somewhere, fishing's pretty good there, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and there is fish in there. A lot of people say there's not, but I went with our fisheries team and we shocked the lake, and there are a lot of fish in there.
Yeah, I have the opportunity to visit with the fisheries team on the show here all the time, regularly, and the work that goes on at state lakes across the state is really impressive. The work that they do to say, is it healthy in every respect? On the shocks that you just talked about, studying the population of the lakes, they're pretty serious about the work they do there, aren't they?
Yes, they are. We have to, keep levels correct in the lake, to keep the grass from growing. We have to bring down the lake at a certain time of the year, bring it back up. It's a lot of work.
So I remember, so it's been a while since I've been there, but I remember the drive around the lake. There was one section where you kind of go over a bridge that had water running over it. Is that still there just like that?
Yes, it is. That's our spillway.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You stay focused on keeping the lake where it needs to be. Is there certain times of the year that it's at certain levels and other times of the year it's at other levels?
Yeah, so it's usually the Wednesday before Thanksgiving we bring it down, and we have to bring it down in steps. And then middle of February we bring it back up, start bringing it back up.
So coming to the cabins, because I remember the cabins. We rented cabins one time many years ago, but enjoyed it. Right there on the water. Have they been updated yet?
They have not. That is going to be in our second wave of renovating. We are starting with the campground. And then we're going to go to the cabins.
Well, I tell you what, looking at some of the pictures, I haven't actually been to the cabins that have been renovated, but looking at the cabins that have been renovated, man, you got a lot to look forward to there because they're going all out. It's going to be competitive on a vacation rental market, isn't it?
It's going to be amazing. And the one we got to go see the ones at Roosevelt, and I cannot wait for that to happen for our park.
Yeah, you probably won't be able to find many vacancies 365 days a year once you get that done. Hey, listen, when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation about Paul B. Johnson State Park, and we got fireworks display coming to me. 4th of July weekend at Paul B. Johnson State Park is a big deal. We'll visit with park manager Heather Peterson more after this message.
Mississippi, where a mockingbird sings out on his limb, whistling that sweet soul for him. I said 3 Mississippi to this land called home. I'll breathe Mississippi till I'm dead and gone. Just carry on, I'll carry on, Mississippi.
We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the outdoors. So let's talk about it. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We're visiting with Heather Peterson, the park manager at Paul B. Johnson State Park. And, Heather, my father, unfortunately, passed away in 1979. I was 21 years old at the time. But even today, when I look back on some of the fondest memories I had with him, I think about Smoky Mountain National Park. We used to go there every year. I think about fishing and dove hunting with him. But I think about all the times we spent at Paul B. Johnson State Park. We loved it there. It was just such a central part of when my family did enjoyment. Paul B. Johnson was part of that story. and forever be tattooed in my memory, the great times that I had there. And by the way, as my kids have grown up, we spent a lot of time going to national parks. Most of their lives, we've been all over the country. I think about when you mentioned a log cabin and as the entrance of Paul B. Johnson State Park. That's awesome to hear that. I think about sort of this rustic feel that you get when you go into something like Yellowstone National Park. It's going to feel like that. I mean, you got to be super, super happy about how that's going to be now the sort of dramatic entrance to the park.
Yes, indeed. We cannot wait. We start building on July 10th, and we're hoping within a 2-week span, we'll have it all built and ready.
So 4th of July weekend, by the time you get to the fireworks, as you pointed out a few minutes ago, there's not going to be any parking anywhere. I would imagine that people from all over the rural areas of that region of Mississippi know that that's the place to be. So there won't be a picnic table available. There won't be a place to put an RV. All the cabins are rented. The boats are going to be out there doing their thing. And then the fireworks happen. What will people expect to see at the fireworks?
We're looking at a 15 to 20 minute show this year. But prior to the fireworks, we clear the lake 7 to 7:30. Everyone has to be, if they're on a boat, they have to be behind the boat launch. And Mr. Pat Linton comes out with a very large American flag hooked on his boat. And as the sun is setting, he's driving around the lake, flying the flag and playing music, and it'll give you goosebumps. It's pretty amazing.
That's really, really cool. So people will feel a connection to what the 4th of July is really all about, I guess, huh?
Yes. And we're going to have some food trucks out here. Mama Red's Grill and More food truck will be here. Snow Boogers. They do ice cream and snow cones. And then we have a gentleman that's going to have a lemonade stand.
It just feels like going back in time a little bit. That's what it feels like, isn't it? Doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Well, look, for people who intend to go there, people who are listening to this show who go there every year, you know what to experience. But whether you go this weekend or whether you go some other weekend, I really encourage you to go to Paul B. Johnson State Park. What a special place that is. And I will say the culmination of all of what they had to offer plays out this weekend from Saturday. This is Monday, of course, today, and then again on tomorrow. So really great opportunities there. One of the things you and I were talking about during the break is what's happening with Frisbee golf these days. You've done something really special in that realm, haven't you?
Yes, we have. When I came here, only a few of the tee pads were concreted in. We are actually pouring the last 9 on Arctic Fox this Friday. So every tee pad will be concrete. We've got some brand new baskets. We have moved a few holes. That way we can, keep people who are visiting the park safe from flying Frisbees and give our disc golfers the room that they need.
But you've got two
18-hole courses. And we are planning to put in another 10-hole on the other side towards the opening front of the park.
That's so cool. And you're actually adding a third course, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's going to be 10 holes?
Yeah, it's going to be 10 holes. The way the setup is, we were going to do 9, but we're going to go ahead and do the 10 for the walk back to where you'll be parked to play that course.
I love the way, the technology around Frisbee golf has really changed over the years. It's gotten so good. The baskets that you're talking about, I mentioned I have 3 here at my house, and it's fun, man. I come from a very competitive family. We're into sports and coach baseball and football and soccer, and my wife was most athletic in high school. Her family is extremely competitive, but there's nothing funner than Frisbee golf. That's for sure. But hey, listen, Heather, it's been a pleasure to spend time with you. I hope we get together again soon. Maybe during the fall we can chat again and talk about how beautiful it is there at that time of year. So each season's a little different. Each season has It's special moments, and if I ever get by there, I'll come by there and say hello to you.
Please do.
It's been a pleasure. This has been Heather Peterson. She's the park manager at Paul B. Johnson State Park. And as I always end every show, please stay safe. A lot of people going to be on the water today and tomorrow. So stay safe. Always put safety first. Don't let somebody drive a boat who's been drinking. Please don't let that be. And God bless you, and we will see you next Monday.
Carry on. Mississippi.